my brand new show. It is called Stepping Stones. What's it all about? Well, each week I'm going to be joined by business owners, entrepreneurs, people in the public eye from across Merseyside to find out what makes them tick, what inspires them, what drove them to go into business, and the journey that they've been on from school days to where they are now. A real life look at the stories behind the people who make Merseyside such a great place to live, work and play. Delighted to welcome our second guest, Rupa Frain from Spotlight Foods, based near Southport. Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me today, Bec.
It's lovely to have you here. So, we're going to go way back when. I like to do my Scooby-Doo. We're going to go back to school days, which clearly isn't very long ago for you.
You're very kind. I wish.
Tell us a little bit about the time that you spent at school.
Okay, I went to boarding school actually, up in the mountains in southern India. It was a school that was founded for the British people during the Raj and subsequently became a public school in India, and I was there all my school life. We were far away from home and the school was my family really, yeah.
How did you find it? Because you hear kind of mixed reviews from people who do boarding school, and I don't know whether it's different in this country to it is in India or...
It's probably a little bit different here. We didn't get a lot of contact with home. We had proper contact with home twice a year. So really, school was everything. It was quite a regimented kind of day, from 6 o'clock in the morning right up to 9 at night. Every minute was accounted for.
Really?
It was an ex-military school, so we woke up with bugles, bells, so on and so forth. We had PE at 6:30 every morning on the dot. And then every single day we had the whole day regimented.
And from what age to what age was that?
I was very, very young. The first time I was sent away from home, I was just coming up. I was not quite 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you cope with that then, being away?
It was very normal for us. That's how it was. All of my friends went to various boarding schools. We didn't know any different. Yeah, that was life really.
And looking back, do you appreciate that schooling?
In some ways I do, because that kind of schooling prepares you for anything that life throws at you. But on the other hand, it takes some things away from you because you haven't really had a family life per se, not in the way that my son has had. So, it's quite a different thing. But it does, it builds up resilience and you are able to deal with different things, adapt to any situation in life, really. Yeah.
And what age did you leave?
I left at 16 because I then wanted to do my A-level equivalent, if you like, away from school, because by then I had a boyfriend and I wanted to be near him.
Oh.
And so I went off to Mumbai and I started studying there in a college there. And then finished there and I got married, got divorced, came over to the UK and I've been here ever since.
So going back to the school days, kind of when you started thinking about what you want to do when you grow up,
yes.
What kind of things did you have in mind?
My father had it in his head that I was going to be a doctor. He just was determined, and so did my elder brother. They both wanted that, but I put paid to that by getting married quite young. And anyway, I don't like blood, so it really doesn't help, you know. But I wanted to do various things, but cooking has always been in my blood. And so although I would never have dreamed that it would one day become what I did, I suppose at the back of my head somewhere I wanted something to do with food. It just didn't appear till very recently, yes.
So what kind of jobs have you had? What was your first job?
My very first job in India was as a fundraising manager for what was then called the Spastic Society of India. It's of course called something very different now, but in those days, in Mumbai. That was my first job. I moved on to another similar job in Cochin, which is in the south of India. It was a place called Asha Kendram, which was a centre for children with disabilities, mental disabilities as well as physical. And I was a fundraiser there too. And I loved that job. It was just so rewarding. It was wonderful. But then I came over to Britain and then I became an accountant. And I was an accountant for many years. I don't know how I stood it because it's the driest job in the world. There's no scope for any sort of creativity really, not if you want to stay legal anyhow. So I did that for many years until I saw an advert for a manager for an education action zone in Preston. And that education action zones were central government funded initiatives to raise standards of schools in areas of deprivation. And so I became manager of the EAZ, as we called it, in Preston, and 3 years later applied in Merseyside, in Bootle, Litherland, Crosby, that area, to become a director of one, which I got. And I worked at that job until 2011. So for many, many years, that's what I did. It was just working with a group of schools to raise standards through various initiatives and various programs for the children and their families.
I was going to ask how you found kind of moving from India over to Britain. Was it a huge thing? But I guess kind of you've been away from a home life.
That's correct. So in that sense, it wasn't huge. What was huge was, of course, the cultural differences. But I had a sister. I have an elder sister. She lived at that time in London with her husband. And I stayed with them. I came over to England just for a holiday, to be honest with you, but then decided that I was going through a very different patch of my life at that point. It was a big change for me all round. And so I decided to stay on and enroll in college in London and continue my education in marketing management, which is what I thought would be quite a nice thing to do. And so it wasn't so difficult because I was with my sister for a while. And then whilst I was still studying, I met my husband, my dear Mike. And so between my sister and him, they made that transition very, very smooth and very easy.
Yeah.
And now I've been here for 30 odd years, and it's my home. I don't think of it as anything else.
And was it Mike that brought you up to the northwest?
It was, yes, because he was down in London. He was a principal of a college down in London, and I met him because I applied to his college for a job as librarian, and I didn't get the job, but I got him.
It's way better than some books.
And yes, and then he moved up here to work at Edgehill University, and when we got married, I followed him up here to the northwest. Yes, that was a bigger transition. Moving from London to the northwest was a bigger transition for me than moving from India to England.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, it was so different. It was really different. I found it. Yes, I don't know.
When you used to like the bustle, because Mumbai very busy, lots of stuff going on, and London's similar, and the northwest a bit of a slower pace.
We lived in Ormskirk at that time, and we didn't know anybody. I didn't know a soul. It was completely. I got a job before I moved up, and I started my job pretty much the day after we got back from honeymoon. But it took a long time to get to know people, and I just found that transition quite difficult initially. And Mike's job took him all over the world. So soon after we were married, he was off to America for weeks on end, and that was quite difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's my home. I don't, I would not think of anywhere else as my home, and I could not live in London again. I couldn't if you paid me. It's difficult, yeah.
Now we've missed out one little step here,
Go on.
is an even further step away from London.
All right.
The Outer Hebrides.
Now that is, as I said, I worked up to 2011 in the education world for Sefton Education Department, LEA, and Mike retired in 2011, and we decided, over the years we've been going on holiday to Scotland, moving our way further and further up, hitting the islands, and then we got to the Outer Hebrides and to the Isles of Harris and Lewis in particular. And we fell in love. And we decided that when we finished work, this is where we were going to end up. And so 2011, we put our house on the market, and we moved up there as soon as we managed to sell the house. I said to him, I'm not working in education anymore. I want to cook, because that's what I really want to do. When we were working, if I came home stressed after a day's work, I would cook this big fancy meal and put it away in the freezer, just to de-stress.
Wow.
Nobody was in the mood to eat it. I just wanted to prepare it, to create it. So when we got to the Outer Hebrides, by the time we got there, we'd already bought our home, and we bought a couple of cottages to rent out as holiday homes, and we'd got ourselves all sorted in our minds. This is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives, and I'm going to cook. And so we put the word out, and within a month, I got a call from Don Coots, who is the director of a BBC series called Katie Murach. They were filming that on the island, and they were looking for a caterer. And he said, I hear you're a caterer. And I said, I'm not actually, I'm just looking to start doing something. And he said, well, would you like to cater for us, a crew and cast? You've got 3 weeks to prepare, and you'll have to get everything over. You have to provide the works, including crockery, cutlery, everything for up to 125 people every day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, on location, off location, wherever. And we thought about it, but we said that if we didn't do it, we'd never get that opportunity again. It doesn't come knocking twice, as the saying goes. And so we said yes, and we managed to get it all sorted before the D-Day, and it worked. It worked amazingly. I lost 1.5 stone, which was the best thing that came out of it for me. But really, jokes aside, it was great. Huge learning curve, wonderful learning experience. It went on for 16 weeks that first year, and it was relentless, day in and day out. Breakfast at 7, no matter where they were, full Scottish and full continental. And then a 3-course lunch, and then a light evening meal every single day. And that first year, we got the contract the second year too, because they were so pleased with us. But the first year, I didn't have any help except a young girl who'd never actually been in the kitchen before, because there was no time to recruit anything. It was incredibly hard work. But wow, it was
what
great.
An achievement.
And what came out of that, more than anything else, was the crew a lot of the crew were local people, and word of mouth. It was phenomenal on the islands, and before we knew it, every weekend was booked with weddings, parties, christenings. There's a company there called BASF, which is an international company, but they have a branch there, and I became their caterer, doing stuff with them to raise staff morale through food. We just name it, we did it. I did charity events. There's a Hebridean mountain rescue team, which is so important because they go rescuing people, even they go off the islands to Ben Nevis and so on rescuing. They needed to raise money for stuff, so we did a charity event for them. It was so busy, I was turning people away. And loads of courses and demonstrations. They have lodges there where people go up to hunt, fish, shoot and so on, and I would go and stay with them for a week and cook. They wanted top end of the market kind of food. It was just wonderful. It was really great.
Talking of top end, that leads me, I'm sure you know what story I'm going to ask you about now. The bus tickets for the lobsters.
Oh yes, that was one of them. That was just unbelievable.
True story.
Yeah, completely true story. I was catering for a large group of people from London at one of the lodges. They were celebrating somebody's 30th birthday, and they had gone up and hired this huge, amazing lodge for about 10 days. And one of the meals one night was a whole lobster per person. So my fish supplier was where we lived on the Isle of Lewis, and this was on the Isle of Harris, so I rang and I ordered these lobsters, and they put the lobsters on a bus in cool boxes, and I had to meet the bus at the other end, and when I did, the bus conductor got off and he gave me a ticket which I had to pay, and the ticket actually says transport of X number of lobsters. So
You still got that
I
ticket?
have the ticket. I don't think I'll ever lose that ticket.
I love that. It's just one of my favourite stories. Something else that you touched on as well, which I'm quite interested in, more so because of some of the work that I do as well. When you said raising morale through food for the company that you were working with, is it? In what way was that? I'm assuming it's not just a lovely delivery of bacon sandwiches.
No. What it was, they noticed that staff morale was sort of running at an all-time low, and they were racking their brains wondering what to do about it. So they contacted me, and once a month we did something. So we either did, in the summer, I did a beach barbecue. I don't normally do barbecues, but I got the people who were working with me, my team. By then I had a proper team of chefs working with me. And we did a beach barbecue for all the staff. I did a breakfast to celebrate some international day of waffles. But the breakfast lasted for hours and hours and hours because they were running shifts in the factory. So everybody had to come in shifts and have their breakfast. So it went on and on all day practically. Waffles with all the sides. We did parties. We did all sorts of stuff. But every month there was something given to the staff by the company to make them feel that they were really valued. And apparently it actually worked. Yeah.
I love that idea. And this is torture. I forgot breakfast this morning.
Okay,
I'm just sitting in now going,
so good.
Waffles, lobster, bacon, what else can we talk about now? More food. So we've jumped a few steps here. So we've gone India, London, Northwest, Hebrides,
yes.
Back to the Northwest. Okay. When did you move back?
We moved back in 2016. We moved back simply because of the distance. It's 13 hours door to door. On a good day. On a bad day, you can forget about travelling altogether because you just can't get off the island. And we have a son and daughter-in-law here, and we now have a grandchild. And so just the thought of being so far away and perhaps not getting back because of bad weather for a special occasion or an emergency, that was, it wasn't really very good. And so we decided, it was a very difficult decision because we loved it there, but we decided to come back to what we always, I think, in our minds regarded as home. And so we did. We packed up, sold all 3 properties and moved back again. And bought a house a mile away from where we lived before. Same library, same doctor, same everything. And so I knew at that point it was going to be hard to set up again. I just knew it, but how hard I didn't realize. It's been really a struggle because of the huge amount of competition.
Yeah.
Because people here have different expectations, I think, and so I am getting there, but it's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
A very slow process. Yeah. But great in many ways. It's got me meeting more people than I ever would. I come into Liverpool twice a week. I never did that before. So, it's really nice. Yeah.
I'm going to cause myself and anyone who's watching or listening considerable pain now, because we're going to talk a little bit more about food.
Go on.
Proper
I could
food.
talk about food all night.
So can I. That's what I'm eating now. So you said that you don't normally do barbecues. I know that you don't do kind of the traditional sausage burgers, that kind of thing.
No.
So what kind of food would you create? A lot of bespoke?
All my food is bespoke. I draw on cuisines from all around the world, and then I make it my own. And I don't actually stick to anything. I don't have recipes. I don't write anything down. So you'd never get the same meal twice, or same food twice at all. I love to experiment, and the poor people who eat my food have to just put up with it.
I'm sure they're not poor people. I'm sure they enjoy every second of it.
I run pop-up restaurants as part of my marketing, really. So I run them once every few weeks at a place called Warren Farm in Formby. Next one's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I have a theme there every time. This time is summer solstice, because it's actually on the solstice weekend. And I do food that kind of complements that time of year. People come and they're all in a good mood. They bring their own bottles, and I just serve a five-course meal. And
I just serve a 5-course meal. Just my idea of 5-course meal is like.
I think you're coming to my next one, aren't you?
I am. I can't wait. Actually, yeah. So the next one, it's the 22nd of June.
It's on the 22nd of June, yeah, and it's just as I say, it's a 5-course meal. We do options for vegetarians. One thing I love to do is cater for people with intolerances. Not allergies, because that's a real minefield, but intolerances, in particular gluten, dairy, that sort of thing. I love to cook for them, because even now, commercially, the food that is available for people who cannot eat the mainstream kind of food, so to speak, the quality is somehow lacking. It's almost like you're being punished for not being able to eat.
Yeah.
And I find my husband is gluten intolerant and has been for nearly 20 years, so we don't actually bring any food with gluten into my house. And I've seen it through him. I've seen how difficult it is to go out and buy a sandwich. It's impossible almost, unless you're going to a really specialist place, and then you're paying 3 times the price, which is unfair. So I specialise in people who.
So I know there are still some places available for the pop-up.
There are.
What can you give us a little taster of what's going to be on the menu? What we'll be enjoying on the night?
Okay. Well, I always start with an amuse bouche, and this time, because it's that time of year, I love to forage for wild foods. So I've gone and foraged for wild garlic and wild sorrel, and I'm doing little wild garlic mushrooms with the wild sorrel emulsion to start while you're having you get welcomed with a glass of Pimm's or soft drink equivalent. So while you're enjoying that. And then the first course after that is a choice between tiger prawn and southport shrimp terrine with a gin and lime reduction, or a Thai-style papaya salad with sunshine, smoked tofu, and crispy rice noodles. And then the main course is pinwheel beef steaks filled with really lovely things in a Cajun sauce. It's all Cajun kind of flavours, with various sides. And the vegetarian alternative is a phyllo strudel filled with Indian paneer cheese and artichoke hearts and broad beans. The paneer cheese, it's an Indian cheese. It's made with milk. It's homemade, and it's a solid cheese, so you can actually cook with it. It's a little bit, I suppose, like the Greek hard cheese, the halloumi.
Oh yeah,
but it's not salty. It's different in that sense. So that's the vegetarian. It's a strudel with broad beans, artichoke, and all of that. Again, it's got a white wine and yogurt kind of dressing, and then other bits and pieces. And the dessert is a Caribbean banoffee pie full of rum and good things. And and then we have cheeses from around the world with crackers and so on and so forth.
So say there are still some tickets, so if that's got your taste buds going, you can buy tickets through your website?
Well, yes, if you go through the website and then email me through the website or email me at rupafrain@hotmail.com, then we will just acknowledge your email and take it from there.
Or you can get in touch across social media, and it's Spotlight Foods UK.
That's correct.
And you're on Instagram, Twitter,
that's correct,
Facebook.
Yes.
So you can get in touch. Drop
Any
Rupa a line, and
yes.
22nd June. So that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
What's your favourite meal?
My favourite meal, and you laugh at this, you really will. Well, I have two.
Go on.
One is a bowl of really well cooked chips, a book, a cup of tea, and no disturbance. That's just perfect. Or it's an Indian comfort thing with rice yogurt. It's called tair sadam, which is eaten in the hot days in India, and it's flavoured with all kinds of herbs. Sometimes you can have chilies in it, and it's eaten cold, so it cools your body down. And it's spooned up. It looks a bit like gruel, but I don't care. My husband, when I eat it, he says, "Oh, you poor thing." I love it. So those are the two favourite simple things. Yeah.
What would you have made? I was reading. Obviously, we talked about this on Afternoon Delight yesterday. Trump's over, and they released the menu. He hosted Charles and Camilla last night, and he drinks Diet Coke, and the meal was beef and potatoes. Mm-hmm. What would you have put? Obviously, that's his taste. He's got very plain taste.
Yeah.
What kind of thing would you put if you were catering for royalty?
Oh, I probably would serve something fishy to start, something tasty. Nothing too fancy, because sometimes a simple meal can be as good as whatever, but maybe with using really good quality ingredients but making it into a very simple meal. Maybe something with a really, really lovely cut of lamb for the main course. The lamb, rack of lamb, using that with some really nice, very subtle kind of flavours, and a nice sauce to go with it. Yeah.
And when it comes to catering, you don't do kind of buffet lunches and that kind of thing for corporates? I do buffet lunches,
but what I don't really do are sandwiches. And the reason I don't do sandwiches is because I hate eating the things. I just really loathe them. And if you hate eating something, you don't actually enjoy making it, and you don't make it very well. My sandwiches look like something gone wrong, really, honestly. So I don't do it. On the odd occasions when I am asked to do sandwiches as part of a buffet, I actually get somebody in to do them for me, because I won't do them.
So funny. So you can cook lobster like the best of them, but
I can't make
doing a bit of cheese and pickle on bran? No, not going to happen.
No. And the only other thing I don't do, because somebody did ask me, what don't you do? And I said the other thing I don't do, parties for little children. I do them for my grandchild, she's the exception, but nobody else. Because I don't know, it just doesn't inspire me. A lot of people are fantastic at that, and they make these beautiful platters of things for children to really tempt picky eaters. I don't do that.
Do you think that's an important tip for businesses, kind of doing the things that you're passionate about and not trying to do everything?
It's got to show. If your food has got to show, you have got to show in your food, and if that doesn't happen, then the connection between you and the food is not there. It's not going to then translate into anything. Sometimes you go to places and spend a fortune on a meal, and you come out of there feeling dissatisfied because you haven't had that passion on the plate. It's just been thrown together almost by rote. Yeah.
Do you eat fast food?
I love fast food. It depends on what it is. I love burritos. I can eat a whole big fat burrito and then die for the rest of the day, but I love it. And like I say, chips. Oh, chips and me. You can see, can't you? But yes, I do eat fast food. Hot dogs on a sunny day, walking down the road, big untidy hot dog in your mouth.
Yeah, lashings of tomato sauce, onions, and ketchup.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, do you know this is torture? Right? If you can't hear my stomach rumbling, I don't know who will. So Spotlight Foods, you've been up and going for a couple of years since you came back to the Northwest.
That's correct.
And it's tough. I think it's a tough time for business in general.
Yes.
And that's part of the aim of the show, is to get a little bit of awareness out there of the awesome businesses that there are across Merseyside and how people can access them. What do you think has been the biggest hurdle so far that you faced since you came back?
It's just getting the word out there. Well, once people come in and they actually eat my food, see the whole experience, feel the experience, it's not just the food, but just then they come back again. I have repeats coming to my pop-ups every time because they just feel that they are happy there. But it's just getting the word out, and that's really, really difficult. It's much harder than it sounds. I know, because I've been trying. When we first came back, the first thing I did was register with 4 separate farmers markets, and every weekend, every month, I was at a farmers market But that's not me. Standing there hawking my food is not me. I can't do it.
You didn't enjoy it?
I didn't enjoy it. It was such a drag. I loathed getting up on Saturday morning and going. It was the worst thing you can do, you know. But the other thing was, I carried on right up to winter of 2016, and I got pneumonia. And that put paid to that, basically. My husband said, that's it, finished. And he was completely right. So we stopped that. And we've been trying all sorts of different things. And then I met with somebody who was running a wedding show, and I had a stall there, but also he happened to be part of this organization, BNI, and he got me to join. He said, you really need to join and meet more people. And so I did. And that's why I'm here sitting with you, Bec, because I met you through this group. Yeah. I have found that whilst it hasn't brought any business into me as yet, apart from the odd person coming to my pop-up, it actually hasn't generated business, if you like. I am meeting a whole range of people I wouldn't have had access to. And in time, perhaps that will lead to something.
Yeah. I think the odd thing, and possibly one of the most difficult things for anyone really in the event and hospitality sector, it's not a quick turnaround.
Yes.
People start planning, so especially weddings, that kind of thing. You do wedding catering.
Yes.
And that can be planned, you know, they can start thinking about it now, and then they're not getting married for 18 months.
That's right.
It's not kind of an instant, you don't wake up one morning and go,
I'm getting married tomorrow.
I'm going to get married.
Yes.
And I want my food sorted out today. No. So it is that slow burner.
Yeah. I've got 2 weddings in October. In fact, I had the tasting for one of them yesterday. The second wedding, they only booked a couple of weeks ago, and they said, can we have a chippy wedding? I said, I don't do fish and chips. Go on my website. No, we know you don't. We've been on your website. We know you don't. But can you do us a posh chippy wedding? So we've devised a menu that is a posh chippy wedding.
So what's a posh chippy
wedding? Well, we're
wedding?
starting with pea and champagne soup, and we're calling it poshy pea soup. And then we're doing fish in a scrap heap. So I'm going to pan fry the fish, but then cover it with a heap of scraps as you find at the bottom of the fire, the deep fat fryer thing in the fish and chip shop. And we're doing all those veggies and everything, but different. And then I suggested for dessert actually a choc chip butty pudding. So what it is, it's a layered bread and butter pudding with choc chips in it. But they've decided to go for my sticky toffee instead, so that's fine. But that's what we're doing. Yeah.
That just sounds absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
What next for you then? Is it a case of growing it and developing and getting the word out there?
Absolutely. Trying to get more bookings, carrying on with my pop-ups, because that is raising awareness. I make no money on my pop-ups whatsoever. It's just raising awareness, Just carry on doing whatever I can do to promote our name, spotlight food, what we can do, what we can offer you. And in time, hopefully, it'll get there. I'm not losing hope, and I'm keeping the optimism going, yes.
And who's your inspiration? Is it a chef? Is it a business person in general?
No. My inspiration is my sister. She's a business person in Canada, and she runs a Montessori school. She has done for many, 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 many years. She lost her husband to cancer 2 years ago, but she has used her school as a lever to just get us, and she has picked herself up, and she is running, and she is my inspiration.
And in terms of chefs who you look up to, do you get the whole celebrity chef things? You can't bat an eye without finding another one popping up on TV.
And to be honest with you, they're all great. A lot of them are good. But I think once they hit that celebrity status, something seems to leach out of them. And I used to worship Rick Stein when I was younger. But as I say, when things get too big and whatever, something goes. So I just kind of watch them, and the things about everybody that I admire, and then the things about everybody that you find something lacking. That's how it is. There isn't one chef that I think, oh, they're my idol.
Yeah. I'm going to take a guess that you're not like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen.
No. I do have a temper, but I don't swear. But temper is the wrong word. I do get stressed.
It's such... How on earth? I can't even make Sunday dinner for one person and get everything right at the same time. I like to have my Christmas dinner in 5 sittings. I'm like, oh, there are my parsnips. I'll have them now. Yeah. So how on earth a chef such as yourself can consider doing this 5-course meal for how many guests at the pop-up?
Well, I'm hoping for 60, but it might not come.
How on earth? I genuinely have no idea. Just hats off.
Well, wedding in October is 150 people sit down and 14 children on top of it.
You just, honestly, I bow down to you. I think it's amazing.
So everybody does their own job, and everybody does something amazing. Yeah.
And I think we turn definitely more into a nation of foodies because of the likes of MasterChef
and
Instagram.
Definitely.
Instagram was created for plates of nice food.
I was on MasterChef but I mucked up bad in the first round.
Really?
Yeah.
When
The
was
first,
that?
the very first MasterChef of Greg John.
Mhm.
The ones before were very softy, nicey. Then they took over and they made it into what
Yeah.
it is now. The very first year, we didn't know what to expect. Nothing. I applied. I got in, and we had to do scrambled eggs first. Believe it or not, which they didn't even film. They did film. They didn't broadcast. And I got through the scrambled eggs flying. It was the best scrambled eggs in the room. 16 of us in the first heat. And then we were given a set of unknown ingredients and asked to make something of it. And there was sausage meat, there was red cabbage, there was cream, there was cider, there was some other things. I wasn't inspired and I screwed up bad.
And do you think that's a demonstration of the fact that you like cooking with what you know and what you love?
No, it isn't, not at all. It was just that I stood and looked at those ingredients and I thought, I can't make friends with you. And I tried and I made a mess of it. Hands up, that's what
I
happened.
can't make friends with you. I've got images where, hello, Mr. Sausage Meat. I'm sorry, I can't be your friend. But you know what? You're doing well. You'll get there. You really, really well.
Thank you.
And we've only got kind of a minute or so left, but have you got any kind of top tips for anyone who's maybe considering starting out in business and running their own business?
Just be passionate about what you do and keep it simple. Keep it to what you are good at. Think about what you want to do, what makes you sing, what makes you want to get out of bed in the morning, and do that. And if you do that, the passion will show and eventually somebody somewhere will see it and you will fly. Yeah.
Love it. I have got one last question. Who washes up?
I do.
You cook and you wash up?
Well, not for the big events. No, I have people doing that.
At
But at home, I wash up.
Do you cook as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Does Mike cook anything?
No.
Oh, no. Is that because he knows better? Would you be sitting there scoring it, turning yourself into Greg Wallace? Right. 1.4. Could have been cooked better. It is, because it's like a busman's holiday, isn't it? Oh, Rupert, listen, it's been so lovely having you in
It's
the
really
studio.
lovely. I've enjoyed it very, very much.
Good.
Thank you.
So that's Rupert from Spotlight Foods. Like I said, the website is
www.spotlightfood.co.uk.
and you can find her across all social media. Pop up at Warren Farm in Crosby. That's on the Formby in the 22nd of June.
7 o'clock start.
5 courses. Can't wait. I'm really looking forward to seeing you there.
So am I.
Again, thank you very much for coming in. As a stepping stone, remember you can get in touch with us at any time if you'd like to be a guest on the show. If you're a business owner, if you've got a story to tell, we'd love to hear it. You can get in touch with us across all platforms on social media. Just search for Condor Online. Thank you very much for joining us.